Heyo everybody, Haku here, and it's time to read some Magical Girl Raising Project Restart. We're on Chapter 3, The Detective and the Murder, which is a pretty telling title here. So, yeah, I guess. Before I start reading, I'm going to do this the same, and you can probably tell from the length of the video and possibly the title as well. Like I did last week, because it's pretty long, so I looked, on the side where it has the different jumps to the different characters. I tried to see which pages they were on to see a good way, midway to stop, and today when I'm recording, this is Thursday, and I'm actually recording it kind of late, so sorry if the lighting is kind of but yeah, and there's a page break on 25, or 26, I think, just right at the beginning of 26. So I'm going to read the first 25 pages up to that break where we're switching over to a different character, and then tomorrow I'll read the rest. I'll post this video on Sunday, then post the second part Monday or Tuesday, depending on when my Little Witch Academia review is up. If it's done by Monday, this will be Tuesday, or if I can't get that done by Monday, then this will be up Monday. Or the second part of this will be up Monday. So, yeah. What I think's going to be going on with this one, well, from where we left off, I think this one's maybe going to pick up from where we left off with Daisy dying. Apparently, rip Daisy. I'm just not in the mood to see other magical girls, these cute magical girls that we just got to know dying. I'm not in the mood for that at all. Not in the mood for dying, not for sadness. Yeah, I think that what we're going to see is the detective girl, since we haven't really met her, and since it seems like it's named after her and it looks like we're starting with her, we're going to see how she finds that team of 3 and Daisy is dead and all that. And I think maybe they're going to not get that Daisy got killed by shooting the skeleton and think somebody killed her, and they'll be like, the murder of Daisy. And they're going to go looking for the murderer, but there is no real murderer. And that could cause some tension between them and other teams as well, so that could progress the story in that manner. But yeah, so I guess we have much to read, much to talk about. Okay. So, starting off, Chapter 3, The Detective and the Murder. Detick Bell. Detick Bell was a detective. She had a cape and a detective's hat. As props, she also had a pipe and a magnifying glass. You could say she was a female Sherlock Holmes. She's not, well, I also thought, didn't she have a bunny tail? Either way. She's not just a magical girl dressed in a detective costume. Why else would you call her a detective, then? Pre-transformation, Shinobu Hyoka's profession was, in fact, a detective. At kindergarten, Shinobu had a brother 4 years older than her. She always stuck around with her brother. When she was depressed, she always stuck around him. They got a discount for the children's club bus trip in town. The children's club. Basically, it was a gathering of mostly elementary school students. Why does he get to be in a club, but I can't? No fair, complained Shinobu, crying and shouting. Her father, who couldn't stand that vitality, talked it over with the chairman of the neighborhood. On one of the children's club bus trips, she went to a ranch in the neighboring city. It was spring, and the weather was very sunny. The temperature was like early summer. In a condition where it wasn't fitting for children to play, they fussed around, watching cows, looking at horses, feeding sheep and rabbits, and experiencing milking. Man, whenever I hear experiencing milking, I am like, too much hentai. When they went on their home trip, that's where Shinobu had a fateful encounter. The tired children were asleep, and there was an anime being played on the TV inside the bus. She had been looking forward for this bus trip, so she ate dinner early and slept early the previous day. Shinobu, who slept a while before the trip, still had a lot of energy remaining, even if she did work hard on that ranch. In the TV screen, there was an elementary school boy detective. He revealed the murderer in a locked room mystery. The words he spoke were jargon that Shinobu didn't understand yet at the time. He was a kid just like me, but he defeated the evil plot of an adult. He was praised by adults, detectives, and senior detectives. He was respected, and his weapons were only his secret items and dependable companions. Also, his intelligent mind. The phrase murderer was more shocking to an elementary school child than conquer the world or destroy humanity. He was a hero who took down someone like that. Shinobu was on a bus full of sleeping children. She clenched one fist at the boy detective's success. Shinobu became a huge fan of boy detectives. She asked her brother to borrow some old manga from his friend. Fortunately, there were furigana everywhere, so she was able to understand most terms. Alibi, tricks, locked room, a number of enchanting phrases fascinated Shinobu. She no longer had to follow her older brother. Her brother said he finally felt relieved, though somewhere he still looked lonely. It may have been just Shinobu's misunderstanding. She asked her father if she could borrow some DVDs, both anime and movie versions. All of them she checked out. Her interest shifted to general mysteries. In conclusion, she began to look at her father's bookshelf. The bookshelf, whose color box was remodeled with do-it-yourself carpentry tools, was filled with mystery books. She found it. Adult-level reading material. She picked it up and read it in secret. This time, it didn't have any furigana, so she couldn't self-teach herself. There were words that she couldn't understand in there. While other children were obsessed with anime or tokusatsu, Shinobu was hiding alone reading mystery novels. Among her favorites was a novel of the famous detective, Shinobu's original anime experience. Detectives, absolutes. He transcended everything and was a jack of all trades at everything. Elementary school, middle school, all of her time was spent reading detective novels. In high school, she was the mystery club president. Some with outstanding minds and knowledge have even solved locked-room mysteries, pointing their fingers on the murderers. Some of them wanted to help girls with no one to turn to and defeat mighty organizations for no compensation. She was excited about the activities of detectives and how tough and cool detective successes were. At the high school culture festival, they planned a performance of the Eight-Tomb Village in the school gymnasium. She was scolded by her PE teacher for staining the gymnasium with bloody stains. Flashy plays of that kind were usually successful. The audience seemed to be excited by it, solving the mystery in the spotlight. The main character, Kosuke Kindaichi, was played by Shinobu, was met with roaring applause. Even just remembering it made pleasure flow through her body. So this is what it felt like to be a detective. No, if I were a real detective, surely it would be even more amazing. Originally, she may have wanted to be an actress, but Shinobu decided that her admiration for detectives was more important. Ignoring her parents' opposition, when Shinobu graduated junior college, she finally went through the doors of a detective agency just 3 years ago from today. Later on, she received an email about a magical girl selection test by chance. She passed that test and became a magical girl. Becoming a magical girl, this will definitely be useful for detective activities. For Shinobu, detectives always come first. She'll never forget the first time she transformed into a magical girl. She became a beautiful girl. Although Shinobu wasn't the type to adore beauty and cuteness, her heart was greatly moved. Just looking at herself made her heart throb. She stretched and bent twice, 3 times, thinking she was deceiving herself just by moving a little. She could smell a sweet, fruity scent. That male was neither a joke nor a prank. Pinching her cheeks and feeling pain taught her that it wasn't a hallucination or a dream. She could tell that this was impossible with modern science. This was happening in the flesh. This was real. She was a genuine magical girl. Detick Bell's costume looked like something that adults would be fine with wearing, making it possible for her to work beside people in the city. Her physical abilities far surpassed creatures that are more capable than humans. Her excellent durability made it great for working in sleepless days. At night, she could see just as clear as in darkness as it is in daytime, all skills suitable for a detective. Also, for every single magical girl there is a magical skill, even for a detective like her. With Detick Bell's magic, it didn't matter if it was a locked-room mystery or an impossible crime. All of them were nothing. She'll never miss the culprit. Unfortunately, real-life detective activities had no locked-room mysteries or phantom thieves. 3 years have passed since Shinobu aspired to be a detective. Using the abilities of a magical girl, shadowing, or stakeouts always guaranteed results. She also tried to remember her clients. Some people wanted to provide her capital to become independent. Now she knew the reality of becoming a detective. Adultery or runaways from home cases are perfectly fine, but novices are stuck with sorting documents and phone numbers, ordered to clean and serve tea, and other odd jobs include caring for pets and spring cleaning. She was crammed with baggages from moving offices until she collapsed. Her director always ordered her to do a variety of odd jobs, saying grandiose things like, "This is for your sake," or "the first step of becoming a first-class detective." Coupled with his appearance and poor persuasive skills, his disposition seemed bad. But Shinobu's spirit never waned. Even though she knew the reality of a detective, she never abandoned the dream of a detective. No matter where she goes, she'll always try to be a detective. She loved playing the detective role. Now we have this break. Let me get some water. Honestly, I A, love that backstory. It was a great backstory. And B, love that we have, I don't know, we've seen college students, we've seen a ton of high school or middle school students, even an elementary school student or two. But it's very, very rare we've actually seen somebody and we know their, real, legit job right now. And, other than just being, I guess we knew Ruler was a businesswoman or whatever, but this is an actual, legit, serious, we know her profession, and it has to do with her personality. Very interesting. So, moving on to a scene break. The magical girl known as Magical Daisy was eliminated from the game. Her death blow skill, Daisy Beam, was something to concern about. The special ability of the powered skeleton was to reflect long-range attacks, so it reflected her beam. She was felled in one stroke. She had talked with her party members, confirming the situation in the scene of the crime. After inspecting the body, there was no mistaking the facts. This wasn't a murder. All evidence points to an accidental death. It wasn't the accident that was the problem. Something else was. As soon as she logged out of the game, she requested a vacation from her director. "I'm going to be busy. I'd like to use 3 of my vacation times," she said as her boss screamed over the phone. He ended the call by slamming his phone. "I'm truly sorry about that. Shinobu's priority at the moment wasn't her normal job." Hold on. Oh, hold on. So, this is very interesting, because let's say what happens to you in the game affects your body in real life, then if she knows that Daisy died like that, and she is a detective, so her agency or whatever finds out about a case of a body that was found with those same things, she's going to put 2 and 2 together that if you die in the game, you die in real life. And Detick Bell could figure this out really quickly. And maybe that's why she's taking vacation off, because she learned about this? But how'd she find the body? I'm assuming we're going to learn. Let me keep reading. First, she searched on the net using her magical phone. There were also some things she'd like to ask the Land of Magic, but for some reason, all the texts and mails she sent to the Land of Magic keep being sent back. No matter how many times she tried, it was the same. She gave up on the mail and prioritized the searches instead. First she inputted Magical Daisy, pressed the spacebar, and began swapping search terms after that. Finally she saw a lead. One of the background scenes of the Magical Daisy anime matched a local station. She matched the information she received from Yumanashima Genopsycho with information posted on the websites, together with info from her search results. She was able to find out where the Magical Daisy anime surroundings were modeled from. Oh, so she's actually putting, this is presumably they're 3 days back, and she is finding out that you die in real life. She is putting this together in her time in the 3 days between being in the game. Hold on. It seems like there was a time where it would be known as a pilgrimage spot for otaku. However, Magical Daisy has long since stopped airing. It was a popular Sunday morning 8 o'clock show for children. It seems at that time that pilgrimage site was filled with hustle and bustle. Shinobu turned off her magical phone and transformed into a magical girl, lowering her hat down so that her eyes couldn't be seen. She packed necessary items such as her wallet into her work bag and left her apartment. She headed towards the Tohoku area by bullet train. Midway, she transferred to a private railway. She connected with 3 more stations. She deposited a ticket to the unmanned ticket station and stopped off in B-Town. After looking left and right, making sure nobody was around, she gently kissed the wall of the station. On the cracks and surface of the wall, a human face began appearing. The face on the wall looked more like an anime or manga face compared to an actual human being. This face seemed like an elderly middle-aged man. The objects affected by her magic have different faces depending on several factors. For example, in this old unmanned station, of course such a face would have those features. The large, 1-meter, cartoon-like face gently moved his eyes slowly as Detick Bell watched. "You called?" The voice was a bit muffled. It seems this neighborhood has that kind of personality. "Do you know someone named Magical Daisy?" "No, I'm afraid I don't. She looks like this." She showed him a picture of Magical Daisy on her phone. "Ah, I do know that girl. She often helps around the station." "Okay, thank you for your help." Once again she kissed the nose of the face. The face melted in the wall and disappeared. This was Detick Bell's can communicate with any building magical skill. Every time she wants to activate it, she has to perform a kiss. However, a person's property will not betray its master. Those were the kinds of restrictions that existed, which is horrible for detective work. Incidentally, when she tried to use it in the buildings in the wasteland area, all the faces said, "I am my master's property. I am not at liberty to say anything my master doesn't want me to. Please find your clear event hence the usual way." Even if she tried talking to other buildings, there wasn't much difference in what they say. Detick Bell, what an interesting power, can talk to buildings. Wasn't much difference in what they say. Detick Bell was disappointed that she thought she could find hints easily with her powers. Immediately after leaving the station, she purchased the regional newspaper at the local convenience store in the countryside. These stores were everywhere, and their parking lots were huge. Bell sat on the parking lot opening the newspaper. According to information from Nokko-chan, when Magical Daisy aired, Daisy was still a middle school student. Then it's possible to calculate her age backwards. If she was in middle school, she shouldn't be doing her magical girl activities far from home. If she's never moved, her parents' house should be nearby. If she were a magical girl, there has to be a place where she would de-transform. Even if she was careful not to let people watch, no one would care if a building watched them. There has to be a building somewhere who's seen Daisy transform. From building to building, Belle asked about Magical Daisy's usual route, trying to figure out her residence. If no one could answer her, she'll follow the possibility that her parents have moved. If she did move, there has to have been a building that saw it. A building's memory doesn't fade away. Man, this is such... I really, really like this storyline we're getting at here. That she's figuring this out already, and figuring it out in the way that she is, by all of this interrogation and everything, is just so interesting. It would be possible to determine whether Magical Daisy was dead or alive this way. This was the purpose of the investigation. Even Detick Bell hoped for her survival. Fall said in the game that damage taken there won't feed back into reality. She participated in the game because she believed those words. This was also true for Shinobu. This was a matter of confirming if there was a mistake somewhere. She didn't want to be motivated by unpleasant feelings or baseless accusations. She should be self-aware about these things. Detick Bell closed the newspaper. She left the parking lot. She has 3 days. Man. That is so cool. Detick Bell, one of my favorite characters already. That is so cool. Pechka. So, now cutting over the Pechka. Let me grab some water just to be sure my throat doesn't get hoarse. Okay. Pechka. Just like last time, Pechka changed her clothes, then gave her lunch to Nina Miyakun. Even if Pechka stepped forward the same day, she could hear no complaints from anyone. "Hey, it's that girl. Who is she?" said the surrounding voices around her. She felt proud, happiness, joy. In the back of her heart, she felt only pain and agitation. Now for the second time, she didn't feel happiness nor joy, only pain. In this autumn day, a well bucket was missing. Dusk was fast approaching. There were no children in the children's park. There was only Pechka, sitting down at the swing set. Thinking about the game made her feel depressed. Just as Fall explained, she heard the log-out announcement, and as soon as she realized it, she was in her bed. She looked at her clock, and sure enough, the minute hand hasn't moved at all since before. However, that doesn't mean it's okay. She should have refused, but she couldn't. Also, there seems to be a magical girl who was eliminated. She remembered that her party members looked dejected. Damage shouldn't reflect a reality, that's what they said in the game. But she knew there was something more to that game. Ultimately, its main goal is fighting, something not suited to Pechka. Pechka sighed. Even now, she didn't think she could refuse. She was afraid to even say it. If Pechka was eliminated without doing anything, then surely the other magical girls would be disappointed in her. She may be bad-mouthed, she might even get beaten up. Even though damage doesn't transfer to reality, she'd still feel the pain. She felt the same pain when she tried to pinch her cheeks in the game as she would in real life. So, the pain of death should feel the same as real death. Just imagining it made her feel depressed. Did the other magical girls never think about these things? The game concept of killing all your enemies doesn't seem to be fitting for a magical girl. A magical girl's job is to help people. Of course, there may be violence involved when trying to help some people. Even then, for the sake of rescuing humans, magical girls were given enhanced physical abilities and magical powers. So, even though she may not be able to avoid violence when helping people, defeating enemies to earn magical candies shouldn't be what magical girls do. But of course, even if Pechka screamed this out loud, it'd probably just be a cowardly escape from reality. Nobody would even listen to what Pechka was saying. Pechka sighed. She at least considered the rewards. The prize for clearing is 10 billion yen. That's about the winnings of dozens of jumbo lotteries. If one of her party members defeated the demon lord, then the prize money should be equally divided amongst them. That was the promise they made. That's why she didn't feel like participating in the battles. Does Pechka even have a chance? For Pechka, that's just not realistic at all. If she had to choose one, she'd be glad to have the participation prize of 100,000 yen. If she got it, she'd quickly deposit and book it as securely as she could. She considered its uses. Since she can easily make her own food, then it should be used to buy clothes. Then maybe rings and a necklace, maybe some earrings. Okay, no, piercings are scary. No earrings. Shoes, bags, famous brand name products, items used in fashion shows. If 100,000 yen isn't enough for that, she could add up the money she saved from New Year's gifts. Even if it might not suit Chika, if Pechka wore it, they'd be gorgeous decorations. She immersed herself in her escapist fantasy. She just noticed that the sun has already fallen. Her shadow in the park deformed into a long black shape as night fell. She heard the tap-tapping footsteps of someone approaching her. When she noticed it, beyond Pechka's shadow, there were the spikes of baseball shoes. Looking above those feet, she could see a baseball uniform. When she lifted her face, she gasped. Nina Miyakun was standing there. He lowered the black baseball club bag. Even while he was wearing his uniform, Pechka could see his athletic body breathing heavily. This was because he ran. With his forehead full of sweat, he watched Pechka. As his voice called out, he came closer. Pechka tightened her grip on the swing set. The swing set's chains were covered with vinyl. The cold steel transmitted over to her body. She realized her body temperature was rising. "You're the girl who brought lunch, right?" Like a spring, she instantly bounced up and nodded furiously. Her facial muscles were stiff. The hands that were grabbing the swing set chains now grabbed parts of her one-piece skirt. This is embarrassing, but thanks a lot." Nina Miyakun was right in front of her. If she stretched out her hand, she could feel his breath. His sweat could already be smelled from over here. An absolutely unreachable star. She could never speak to him at school, only watch him from a distance. She was sweating, her body temperature was rising, her heart was beating, she felt dizzy. So it was true when they say that love feels like a disease. Nina Miyakun placed his hand behind his head. Seems like he was feeling bad about something. Then he spoke. That lunch, sorry for asking, but could you cook one up again?" Pechka nodded over and over, so much that her hair began to shake up and down. "It was really delicious, seriously, the best. I'd do anything to eat that every day." It was food that was made using Pechka's magical skill. It was because of her magic that made it delicious. Nina Miyakun gestured with his body and his hands. He kept on emphasizing how delicious the lunch was. Is it really okay, though? You know, no one in the team knew who you were, so I had to run around until I could find you. If it's okay with you, I'd like to ask you one more favor. Ninomiya-kun lowered his head down to Pechka, and Pechka could see the back of Ninomiya-kun's head. The baseball club had a rule. They had to shave off their hair. Ninomiya-kun's head was well shaped. His cleanliness came before the show of shame. Okay? Maybe it'd be nice to the touch. Pechka's right hand moved. Because the team took turns, I never really got to eat the full lunch course. Ninomiya-kun raised his head slightly. Pechka caught a glimpse of his face. Their eyes met. In a panic, she pulled back her right hand. She sweated even more intensely. She began to breathe so hard that she needed to breathe through her mouth. Ninomiya-kun looked at Pechka. Pechka looked at Ninomiya-kun as well. Ninomiya-kun looked at Pechka, and Pechka looked at Ninomiya-kun. That's why their eyes met. Even though we're so far, and I feel really tired, that lunch was to die for, so, if no one's around, you want to share it with me? No, really, even if everyone in the team didn't want to, I'd still want that lunch. Is that okay? Okay. With a dizzying feeling that made her almost faint, Pechka nodded. Understood. Too stiff and tense. She sounded very monotone there. Really? For real? All right. Thank you so much. Ninomiya-kun shook Pechka's hands vigorously, repeatedly saying thank you to her. Pechka could only look as her face turned white. She decided that this park would be a good meeting spot to share lunch. Ninomiya-kun also turned white and nodded. After that, Pechka saw him off as he ran, humming a tune to himself. She couldn't stand any more, and sat back on the swing. She felt cold and wet. That's how much she'd been sweating. Her heartbeat gradually calmed down. Her flames of passion resided. While she was calming down, her fire still created smoke. Pechka's magical skill, that she only thought was an extra add-on, turned out to be helpful. Ninomiya-kun was happy. He praised her. He said he'd do anything if he could eat it every day. That's it. Cooking. A new path opened up before Pechka. That was a really good story as well. I like that. That was cute. Oh, man. I feel like this has been very, very content heavy already, and I love it. We were only like 13 pages in. It's taken 30 minutes. I really like that. And now we get to see Shadowgale, who I think I might... Where did I put her in the Haku&A when I did my top characters after the first 2 chapters? I think I put her in maybe like 6th to 4th, somewhere in that area. So yeah, I like Shadowgale a lot. So here we go. Shadowgale. Several years ago, the reason why she's serving the Hitokoji family today was Kanoe's grandfather. His eye and legs continued to worsen. He always used a wheelchair. His body and head were giving out from old age. He managed everything: human resources, investments, agreements, bid riggings. He provided detailed instructions for others. There were rumors that despite being over 80, he had an illegitimate child. Those rumors even came towards Momori's ears. It may or may not be true. He continued to work every day until he collapsed with a stroke. Even in death, the Hitokoji family never stopped. You could say that was the cause, although Kanoe didn't seem to treat others with respect. She loved her grandfather. Okay, so hold up. Let me think here. I thought Hitokoji... So does that mean that Shadowgale and Pufle are related? Because I thought the Hitokoji family was the rich one. I thought that was, I'm going to keep reading because I'm probably wrong. I was going to say, though, I thought that was Pufle's family that Shadowgale's family served. But it makes sense. Like, maybe if he had bad legs and a bad eye, that's why Pufle's magical girl looks like that, as sort of like her nod to him, maybe? Or anything? Either way, I will continue reading. You could tell because year by year her tone slowly resembled that of her grandfather. Her parents and older brother found it weird and left. In the private girls' school she went to, you could tell her awful tone. Afterwards, when she became a magical girl, you could even see it in her costume. Her wheelchair was obviously influenced by her love, decorated with luxurious gold, with excellent craftsmanship like a throne. Okay, so Konoe Hitokoji, that is Poufle, and Momori is Shadowgale then. Okay. Afterwards, when she became a magical girl, you could even see it in her costume. Her wheelchair was obviously influenced by her love, decorated with luxurious gold, with excellent craftsmanship like a throne. It makes you think of old kings who would lead at the apex of their clans. Her eye patch also symbolized the eye disease, crafted with a wooden bird motif. She loved her grandfather, even when his feet worsened and looked like sticks. Konoe's way of life was similar to her grandfather. At least that's what Momori thought. No hesitation, without thinking. No, she did think. She was very thoughtful. She just didn't show it to others. She always seemed to promptly choose the right decision out of nowhere. Her admirers grew because of that. And there Konoe was. There was no one in the science lab but Momori. She was looking outside the window. She seemed to be thinking of something. Usually she'd chat with her classmates while also reading the books that she brought to school. You could tell she was thinking hard. Frankly, Momori wasn't worried. From yesterday until today, all she prioritized was the game. For Konoe to be worried so much about the game, if Momori were to put herself in her position, just thinking about it would make her lose sleep. If we're in tough times, I have some wonderful news for you. So, you can read minds now. How long have we been together again? I think that's a good enough reason. This shallow human being seemed a little bit wittish. Outside of the window, there were many students playing soccer energetically outside. Even though this was a private ladies' school, there were a variety of lady types in it. Even though it's fall, it was still scorching hot. The heat even reached Momori. She loosened her scarf. It's about the game. Of course it's about the game. You probably dislike it. Fighting enemies, saving money to buy items. With your magical skill, Momori, you could technically cheat. With that thought in your head, isn't it interesting? My lady, if you want me to do it, then I can't exactly say no, can I? It's ironically because of you that we're involved in all this. Konoe didn't seem to be concerned about it. She was watching the students running around outside of the window. She placed her knees on the chair, her skirt slid, exposing her thighs. Your thighs are showing. There are two kinds of magical girls, combat magical girls and non-combat magical girls, right? That's right. That game was made for combat magical girls, yet it doesn't mean all the participants are combat magical girls. For example, me and you. There was also another girl that wasn't willing to fight. Now, why would these girls participate in the game? I'm guessing because of the reward. Okay? So, I'm interested now in what Momori's ability is then. Speaking of the rewards, remember that reward we got for clearing the area last time? It was deposited earlier to an account normally used for foreign exchanges. I don't know how they looked it up. Their name was also anonymous. Regardless, if we clear 2 areas, that makes us a total of 2 million yen. 2 million? Seriously? We also have the participation awards too. You should check your account. Also, try to keep your head out of just material pleasure. Okay? That amount of money would be 5 times more than what she would have earned last January. That would be nice to get. I asked Fall, and it seems like no one refused participation as a test player. Not even one? That was surprising. If they were forced, there should be at least 1 or 2 rebellious people that would have refused. If a human became a magical girl, then such a person, everyone, should be strong. It's strange, isn't it? There's so many people, even though it seems like participation was forced. No one's refused. Someone strong should have refused. There are people who prefer peace instead of fighting. So why did no one refuse? My lady, you didn't refuse as well, did you? I'm a young girl. I know I can be a little odd sometimes. Yes, you are quite odd. Smell, touch, sight, taste, hearing. Nothing has changed from reality. Meaning if you were hurt, then you should feel the same pain. They say that damage won't transfer back to reality, so that might be a good reason for non-combat magical girls to give this a second shot. But then why did they respond to the game invite in the first place? Okay, I am going to say though, it's hard to tell a lot of the times, like when they're saying my lady and stuff, that makes it easy. but it's hard to tell which one is which talking a lot, because their personalities really aren't like way out there to where you can tell. Like, we've heard that Poufle is like really shallow and vapid, but from everything we've seen of her, she's actually been nice to everyone and seems like a pretty okay girl. Seems like a good person. And Momori just and you can see in her speaking as well, she just seems kind of like angsty and angry, but again, not that extreme, not as angsty and angry as Ripple was in the first arc. So yeah, it's very difficult to tell them apart all the time. Kanoe raised one knee and her skirt fell even more. Even though this is a ladies' school, the reason she often had fans was because she'd do those strange things. Oh, lewd Poufle. Lewd Katawa Shoujo. I'm tired. Is that so? After saying those words, Momori turned around and came face to face with the skull. She became frustrated. It was just a science class prop, and unlike the game, this one wouldn't attack her. Oh yeah, she always finds little pranks like these amusing, doesn't she? My magical phone is acting a bit strange. I can't contact the land of magic at all. You know I can't fix the magical phones with my magical skill. Okay, so her ability is to fix things, seemingly? Like I was guessing it would have something to do with medical stuff since she was a nurse? Either way, there were several guards in place to protect a magical girl's information. When Kanoe ordered Momori to use her magical skill on it, it became useless. Luckily, she was able to falsify the reasons for it being broken and was given a new magical phone. Since it was Kanoe who ordered it, the one that actually had to talk about the forged reasons was Momori. She got angry when she remembered that. Like I said, it's strange. Her feet dangled from the chair, her skirt falling back to its original position. Momori was relieved. It seems that the soccer game outside has reached its climax, ending with an amazing goal kick from the corner of the field. Momori saw teammates high-fiving each other. Their face then turned toward this place. She could see them mouthing, "Ah," outside the window. In response, Kanoe smiled softly and waved at them. Momori could hear the students' voices as they came up the stairs. She furrowed her eyebrows. Alright, let's take a drink at the scene break. That was a pretty okay scene, though. Like I said, it was kind of hard keeping up with everything they were saying, since it was just the two talking back and forth and stuff. It was really difficult to keep what each one of them were thinking and saying separate, since we were going back and forth. Okay, either way, next scene. After 3 days, she returned to the game world. Dark brown buildings and wastes all around, the smell of earth penetrating her nose. This was the same place she started in. She opened her map, checking the positions of her party members. First, she should meet up with Kanoe. You had me waiting quite a while. Could you speed it up next time? Yeah, next time I'll run as fast as I can. Masked Wonder seems to be staying in a place that was a bit more distant than where they were. Although she was a weirdo, compared to Ple, she was much more straightforward and easier to get along with. Masked Wonder's icon kept still and didn't move. Next time, she'll go to her first. Although Ple blamed Shadowgale for her delay, she didn't say anything about Masked Wonder not moving. Momori had seen the Hitokoji family for more than 10 years. They're capitalists who exude an excellence about them. Only in compensation, spirit, and their treatment. Other than that, they were just as average as anyone else. Shadowgale pushed Fle's wheelchair. They reached the building where Masked Wonder was waiting in. When she stretched her back, Shadowgale felt a bit cold. She was sweating. That girl must be practicing her victory pose. Shadowgale was tired, but she opened the building door. Inside, Masked Wonder was collapsed, her arms and face reaching forward as if she was trying to grab something. She was collapsed with her face on the ground. Her purple cloak was smeared with a reddish-black liquid, not just the cloak, but also spread across the floor. The source of this reddish-black liquid was the back of her head. Beside her was a stone that was pulled out and dropped to the side. Flesh stepped onto the blood with her wheelchair. And approached Masked Wonder. She picked up the magical phone that Masked Wonder had turned on. Of course, all the items and candies are gone. Fle's tone was like that of a scientist examining the results of a test. As Shadowgale listened to her words, nausea came piling up. Yup, as soon as they said she wasn't moving and she was far away, I was like, she's going to be murdered, isn't she? Damn it. Well, that's sad. One of my favorite characters dead already. Damn it. Well, so she's dead, and it seems like she was murdered with a rock, which is very interesting, because who would murder Masked Wonder with a rock, you would be left to think. It wasn't Samurai Girl, you would think she would have just cut her up. Is it something to do with Melville/Cherna's team, maybe? I mean, Rionetta seems like she could be kind of a dick, but I don't really see Petchka's team doing that. I don't really see Nokko-chan's team doing that either, I guess. So yeah, I guess it's maybe because we haven't really seen them from their perspective yet, but Melville and Cherna's team and Lapis Lazuline's team is the only one, I guess, that you can't totally trust because we haven't seen from their perspective. Same with the Samurai, but again, the whole smash her head with a rock doesn't really fit the whole samurai deal. Just a couple more pages. Petchka now. Petchka received a pot. Depending on the town, there were differences in shops. In the Wasteland town, there were healing potions. In the Mountain town, there were picture books. It was these kinds of variations. As they went on, there were even stronger items ahead. In the Wasteland town, there were only weapons and shields, but in the Grassland town, it changed to weapons +1 and shields +1. In the Mountain town, it became weapons +2 and shields +2. After installing it, it took a more complicated shape. Its robustness also increased. It changed according to each magical girl. When installed in her magical phone, Petchka got a spatula. When this is Leonetta, I guess that's Rionetta. When Rionetta installed it, it became claws that extended from her hands. Its name was Weapon Plus X, very uncanny yet high in compatibility with her. There were common items and there were random items you could get by purchasing the R item. The R item was pretty popular when the game had just started. The first item that they received was Map, a convenient and extremely useful item. If this class of item was available randomly for 100 candies, then they're not too sad about it. The reality, however, wasn't that sweet. The second time they purchased the R item, it was a map. The third was a map. Fourth was also a map. The second time this happened, they had a bitter smile. By the third time, their smiles disappeared. By the fourth time, they had a mixture of doubt and anger. What's with this R thing? Does it only pop out maps? Some items in the R category have different rarities, so the probabilities are different, Pone. After hearing the help button and demanding answers, Fahul responded without fear. And yet, all that we've procured so far are maps, said Leonetta. I guess we can call her Leonetta. Leonetta with a voice that would make you tremble. Despite the edge of her lips shaking, Fall remained calm. Maps are high probability items, Pone. It's common for them to show up 4 or 5 times in a row. Keep trying though, Pone. I'm sure you'll get a super rare item as well, Pone. Leonetta, with a beautiful form that made her feel experienced, threw the map toward the shop wall. The message that appeared was, "Purchase of maps will now be 3 candies." Since then, the purchase of our items has been strictly forbidden by the team leader. The ogres that appeared in the mountain area often dropped a lot of candies. Because most of the items on the shop were basically cheap, their numbers of candies began increasing. They wanted to purchase the R item. Miyakata and Nanako wanted to purchase the R item. Clantail also allowed it. Clantail now had a long spear for attacking on her right hand. On her left hand was a huge shield. Although the other 3 didn't want it, only one person who was armed could use the candies. Okay, hold on. You didn't want it. Only one person who was armed could use the candies. Even so, it seemed like it would be hard to refuse Miyakata's request. Still, Leonetta was reluctant. Finally, after a while, she nodded. They used 1,000 candies and bought 10 R items. The results? 8 maps, 1 shovel, and 1 pot. The shovel just seemed to be an ordinary normal shovel. It was about 1 meter in length. The pot was also an ordinary-sized pot. It wasn't magical. There were no special effects at all. At this point, Leonetta was already furious. She started shouting how it was stupid to use 1,000 candies for something like this, swearing and calling Miyakata and Nanako an idiot, to which she refuted. Then the 2 started arguing again. Hearing the 2 of them argue, Clantail began scolding them both. That team is my favorite, though. I really like that team. Their argument continued until they divided into the combat and scouting groups and left each other. Miyakata and Nanako's mood soon got better. While scouting, whenever they encountered an enemy, Pechika would escape and avoid it, while Miyakata and Nanako would annihilate them. They encountered one goblin out of 4 surrendering. "It's cute! Cute!" cried Miyakata joyfully. She tied up a ribbon around its neck. When they were attacked, Pechika could only see it as a foul creature. After Miyakata tamed it, even though it looked the same, you could say it looked rather cute. It was definitely something you'd call a pleasant sight to behold. However, Leonetta's mood was just getting worse. Night. They rejoined the combat group. At that time, Clantail and Leonetta were quiet. The sound of Clantail's hooves on the ground were that of tiredness. Leonetta averted her eyes. "Just what in the hell are we supposed to do?" And then her anger was revealed. Why on earth should we let that gigantic rodent tell us what to do? Before then, they encountered a group who drove them away, saying they couldn't hunt in their territory. Now in the mountain area, it seems they encountered the same problem. Leonetta was angry at almost everyone who caught her eye, but it was natural for her to feel that way. Miyakata Nanako carried her goblin and raised him up. She absolutely won't let Leonetta approach him. When the goblin began to smell, Leonetta started shouting. By doing that, once again they started their argument. Clantail barked until they stopped. Then they all turned their eyes to Pechika. "What are you doing?" "Well, I had the pot, so I realized that I've squandered my money and got irritated, but even so, that doesn't mean you should flaunt that thing in my sight. Need I remind you that I can't just sleep off the idea that we spent 1,000 candies to buy that shovel as well?" In the game, there was no need to sleep, even if they still needed to eat and drink. In other words, she couldn't sleep it off. And besides, what's the occasion? Why are you putting both your hands into... Huh? Leonetta's nose twitched. Sniff, sniff. She tried smelling the pot. She began to get closer. Pechika smiled nervously, also a bit frightened. She tried to explain what she was doing. My magical skill, how do I say this? Like I said, it's a cooking magic. Since we have a pot, I thought, whew, unlike preserved meals, this won't cost any candies, because I can make it from anything, so maybe I think it'll kinda taste better than preserved meals, probably. You seem quite confident in that assumption. I'm not confident at all, actually. See, there's no food yet, so if you could please wait a bit. Leaves? Well, that's a rather interesting choice for dishware, I suppose. Well, I think that those who complain should not be allowed to eat, isn't that correct? When Miyakata Nanako laughed, the little goblin also jumped up. Leonetta clicked her tongue, offended by that statement. She sat on a nearby rock, purposely stir up dust. Using Pechika's magical skill, she can cook as much food as she wants. However, in the outdoors, she had no choice but to use leaves for dishware. There were hard food to eat, and there were easy ones to eat. She thought of the perfect delicious dish. Rice balls, after all that boasting too. Leonetta spent no time insulting it at first sight. She wondered why she was even bothering with this. She'd rather eat preserved food instead. She took a bite out of the rice ball as if it were poisoned, and furrowed her eyebrows. Clantail and Miyakata were watching Leonetta carefully. Leonetta ignored the eyes of those two. She took 2 bites, she took 3 bites. Without saying anything, she continued eating the rice ball. She devoured and gobbled it all up. Miyakata timidly bent the rice ball. "Oh?" she said with her mouth open. Soon she couldn't stop eating it, just like Leonetta. Her small goblin, who saw his master, also gobbled up the rice balls. Clantail calmly ate the rice ball, but her tail was wagging left and right. For they're so cute. I guess Clantail is default best girl now. For the time being, everyone seems to be pleased, so Pechika breathed a sigh of relief. She started eating her own rice ball. Everyone was all doing the same thing. She couldn't really remember when, but there was a time where it felt like this has happened before. Because she wanted everyone to get along, Pechika made meals using her magical skill. It was a long time ago when she became a magical girl. There wasn't any reason for her to not remember it. But why can't she remember? Leonetta, Miyakata, and Clantail, all of them were eating rice balls. Until a little while ago, they were all angry that they'd been driven out of the hunting ground, yet they're eating with full power now. Pechika's magical skill, which she thought was just an extra add-on. Nina Miyakun and everyone here was happy. I guess cooking really isn't a waste. I like that. This was a good half chapter for Petchka. Poor Petchka. Like, she was useful, everything worked out good, she had a good story at the beginning. Also, I really like Detick Bell. I'm very much into the whole intellectual girl thing, so she is quite up there now in my rankings. But yeah, I guess Clantail is best girl now, because it's sad that Masked Wonder was tied for favorite character and she died. That's really sad to me. I think one reason it's not really hitting me as being super sad, though, is because we're only 2-3 chapters in, and she didn't get as much development as a lot of the other girls. She didn't get, we didn't get to hear her, like, real life story or anything, or any of that, so, yeah, I guess that's it. I hope we get back to some of the other stuff, though. I kind of would have liked to see more of Detick Bell, and if she made it within the 3 days and figured everything out. Want to see what's going on with nokko-chan's team, which I think is what we'll end up doing next. There's a lot that I'd like to get back to. So yeah, man, so bummed that Masked Wonder's dead, but I do like Detick. I'm glad that we got the backstory on her and all. I'm still sad that Daisy's gone. We didn't get to know her enough. Yeah, man, just bummed when characters that you like are dead. But yeah, Clantail's my favorite. Just cute wagging her tail, and I like Petchka more now. Petchka had a pretty good story this half chapter. And I'll record the other half tomorrow, either when I wake up or tomorrow afternoon. And hopefully there won't be people cutting grass outside that I hope you can't hear, but you probably can. So yeah, either way, I'm going to go ahead and end this one. So if you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of this half chapter and what you thought of my first thoughts and initial reaction and all that. Subscribe, I suppose, for more Magical Girl Raising Project and much more. Follow on Twitter if you want. I'll try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. That is it. So thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.